Good morning, everybody. Welcome to that Kentuckessee Angler Show. Today we're going to be catching some beautiful Tennessee largemouth bass, talking about fishing first aid kits, and telling fishing injury horror stories. Now let me get that skunk off my back and let's get into it. Oh, quicksand, man. A bit sunny over here too. Basically, we're going to start working the area. I'm starting out on this point and try to find some active fish out here. Conditions are decent. We have had a major raise in temperature over this week. The last couple days have been in the high 70s. Today's 83. Last week we were in the 50s and 60s, so I don't really know how these fish are going to respond to it. Starting out in areas I'm confident in, though. With the bait I'm equally as confident in. If they're not eating this, chances are they're probably not going to be eating anything here. There's kind of a steady drop off right over there, where I'm counting on these fish to be sitting. There we go. That's a nice fish. So they're going to be on that side. I can't tell if I'm just dragging this dude up the slope or if it's got some mega weight to it. Oh yeah, that's a big bass. That's what I'm talking about. Way to get started this morning. Come on in. Come on in here. Good looking fish. I was a bit concerned that took a few casts, but that's a tank to get us started today. Oh yeah, you choked that tube too. Good hook though, didn't get him in the gills or anything. There we go. Beautiful. You can tell he's had a broken jaw before. We're gonna be real gentle. Get him back in. No weight on you, but should be real careful while I'm lipping this fish. I can feel that bone isn't all the way together. Beautiful, beautiful largemouth. They get us started. That's what I'm talking about. Absolutely awesome Tennessee largemouth bass. And it's a real good sign for today that they are biting out here. Get you back in. And off she goes. As quick as she came in. So we are gonna retie real quick. I've been fishing that tube for a hot minute, running it over all sorts of rocks and whatnot. I was a bit concerned when I felt the weight behind that fish. Wasn't expecting it. Was starting to get a bit concerned out here. Maybe if we continue to work this point kind of out of the way, we'll be able to pick something up. Hey, there we go, fish on. Not nearly the size of the one we pulled in, but he's not bad. Another largemouth. A lot smaller, but just I know they're not just concentrated to that singular area. Pulled them right out of here. Good start to the day, man. It's like as soon as that sun got a little bit higher in the sky, that bite started picking up. Well, actually, you gotta go a bit out that way. So we were just fishing that point out. Decided to come down here and kind of work this area in a more lipless crankbait friendly environment. There's a lot of snags out there, but the first kind of fishing injury horror story I got for y'all comes from a gentleman I fished with several times named Charlie. He's an older fella. The story goes he was fishing on his boat and he ended up falling in, releasing a fish early on in the day. On his way down, he scraped his leg pretty severely, but decided to stay on the water and continue fishing. He told me by the time he got home, probably put in like 8 hours or so on the water, he took a shower, tried to clean out that scrape. But in a day or two, it started feeling off and got wildly infected. to the point where he blames his hip replacement on it. There we go, that's a fish. Where he ended up getting a hip replacement due to it and blames it. I don't know, the guy got injured and he got a hip replacement. I can't even think straight now that we got this beautiful fish on. Come on in, man, I'm glad we made that jump. Wow, that is a plump and gorgeous largemouth. Look at that fish. Let me get you. It's fitting that we cover this fishing first aid portion while fishing, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous baits. A heavily trebled half-ounce lipless crankbait. Dude, you are thick. A fatty, man. A fatty boobaladdy. We'll take a look at her. I think she's certainly the fish of the day. Get some better lighting on that. Absolutely stunning. Just a beautiful, beautiful largemouth. And she's got some weight to her too. Man, you are pushing 3 for sure. Gorgeous fish. We'll get her back in. Man, I am thankful for you. Well, I'm sure I butchered that story. That fish caught me completely off guard. I don't even remember. I think I pulled him out from somewhere around here, so we'll throw another cast there. In a nutshell, my buddy was out on the water, fell off his boat, submerged, a nasty, nasty scrape, and instead of heading home, he decided to fish the rest of the day. Ended up getting a nasty infection, which led to a hip replacement, man. That one, that's something of nightmares out there. Oh, there we go. Right at the feet. What is it, a white bass? Yeah, wow. Okay. All right, so this is a white bass. A beautiful fish. They're very, very good eating. I do a lot of this fishing on my channel come January, February, March. They run very, very heavy in my area. This one's on the smaller side. I've caught these up to like 3 pounds in this area before, which are very, very fat. A lot of fun to catch. Less common this year, but they start showing up. I'm kind of surprised we caught that fish, but you can catch them on just about anything they can fit in their mouth. Small profile, soft plastics usually do the trick for me. That's what I prefer, or Marabou jigs. But 1/4 ounce lipless, hey, who knows? Maybe we'll catch another one out here. Kind of surprising. So this is the kit I carry with me when I'm within walking distance of my vehicle, and it's always good to note that if you are heading out on the water for a big day of fishing, if you're kayaking, if you're camping, if you're getting off the grid, you should let someone know where you're going, especially if you're alone and when you're going to be back. Who knows what could happen? You want them to be able to find you. But if I am doing a trip like that, I will pack accordingly. Anyhow, this is kind of my day-to-day stuff. Now, first off, have a tourniquet. You never know when you're going to need one. If you don't have a tourniquet with you and you have severe trauma and you need one, what you can use is a belt, an article of clothing, that sort of deal. Now, I'm not really going to get into that now. However, if you do have to apply one, it's good to carry one of these with you to note that time. Just write it right up on the forehead or right above the injury. So when you do get to medical professionals, no matter what state you're in, they can identify the time that tourniquet was applied. Now, secondly, I like to carry band-aids with me, all sorts and sizes in this waterproof pouch, because you never know when you're going to need one. No one wants to be bleeding out on the water for more severe cuts. I carry gauze, I also carry tape. Always good to have a little knife with you. I have alcohol wipes as well as Neosporin, because when you're fishing around water, you're fishing around bacteria, and the last thing you want to do is get a nasty infection out here. Now, last but not least, this is a thoughtful gift for a family member or anyone who drives a vehicle, really. A glass breaker. I keep one in my vehicle. I also keep one in my bag, especially if you're fishing around boat ramps. You never know what could happen if you're driving in someone else's vehicle around water. Who knows, someone else is driving you. I guess I should put it that way, and you're not sure what's gonna happen. It's good to have one of these with you. Not only is it a glass breaker, it's a seatbelt cutter as well. All around, pretty awesome day on the water. A lot better than I expected with this raising temperature. I thought we'd be struggling a bit. to get these fish on consistently, and they have been a bit scattered, kind of how I predicted, but I'm thinking now that it's warmed up a bit out here and these fish seem a bit more active at this point, might be hitting again. Now I'm probably going to regret throwing this bait over here. It is very snaggy. But when it comes to fishing injuries, I've been fairly lucky on. I have to knock on wood after this. I try to be very careful out here in an effort to avoid medical bills, but worst I probably had was caught on this very channel, and I will link the video if I can find it. I don't show too much after the initial injury, but I was working some wet rock. I was standing on some wet riprap, bearing the majority of my weight on one of my legs. That leg gave way, slipped about 6 inches or so. It wasn't a face plant or anything, not a mega fall. Oh, there's a nice fish. Yes. Oh my gosh, he shook it, he shook it. That was a beautiful bass. Wow, man, that's a shame. Anyhow, take a second to mourn the fish that I lost. Anyhow, guys, my leg slipped right into another rock, and I fell with enough force. I had like a weird crushing type wound. It split the skin behind that ball joint on my ankle open. Right away, I knew I was hurt pretty bad. I thought I might need stitches, so I did make a run to my vehicle. Thankfully, I was like a 5-minute walk up some rock to it. Got in there, and I went home and I cleaned it out the best I could. I was picking all kinds of rock and mud out of it from working these wet, rocky areas. After cleaning it with peroxide, that sort of deal, alcohol, packing it full of ointment, I kind of just sat on it, and it took a very long time to heal. I probably needed stitches for that, but I really didn't want to deal with that medical bill, so I let it heal on its own, checked it for signs of infection, that sort of deal, and ended up being all right. I have had a treble hook stuck in my shoulder as well. I cast it up into a tree, something like that. I was yanking my bait down. I figured I couldn't get it out, so I was trying to break off, and it slingshotted right into my shoulder blade. Fortunately, I was wearing a heavy duty fleece type jacket underneath that. I had a long sleeve and a short sleeve on, so it really stopped the entirety of the barb from going through, but it poked me enough to where I had to pop that thing out, and yeah, that hurt pretty bad. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I had a great time making this one, as always. Before we even get into the baits and lures we used in this video, I did want to touch down on this tool. I briefly showed it off on the water, but this is the Benchmade Rescue Tool, and I have no affiliation with them. I just think it's something everyone should carry with them, and it's a thoughtful gift as well that most people wouldn't think to buy themselves. So right here, I mean, it's small, it's compact, keep it in your glove box, keep it wherever in your visor. You got a seatbelt cutter right there. Up here, extra grip, a little notch for your index finger, so it works really well with gloved hands. You can cut right through a seatbelt. If you flip it over, you can put your pinky right down here in that notch. It's kind of a little notch there, I guess, for your index finger. Thumb on top, and you can bust out a window like that. Really cool tool. Now moving on to our baits. I'd say the all-star of the video is certainly the Cotton Cordell lipless crankbait. I'm a big fan of this one. I fish it on the channel a lot. This is really my go-to lipless crankbait. Initially I started buying them because they were cheaper. Snagging up hurt a little bit less. I ended up liking them more than the majority of other lipless crankbaits on the market. I just got used to it, and it really works well for me in my area. So it's got a really great rattle to it. First of all, it's got a great action. One real downside are the hooks. However, I haven't ran into too many issues with them. I'm not really catching 10-pound bass, so maybe if you are, I'd probably upgrade them, but I haven't gotten bent out by fish. Moving on to our Strike King Bitsy 2. I have favored this bait a lot this year. They're a ton of fun to fish. We're just about to get out of that time of year too, unfortunately, but it's a 2.75 inch tube. We got a tube head jig loaded in there. It's a 1/8 ounce tube head jig by Eagle Claw. I will list all this in the description, as well as I always do with your rods and reels in addition to that. Now, I hope y'all enjoyed the video.
be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and get some good fish on, my friends. Right now the bite is absolutely insane in my area. So this video, I filmed it about 2 weeks ago. Now that I'm actually editing it, getting it together for y'all, we have had a decrease in temperature and these fish are biting hard. So catch y'all next time. I hope y'all are catching some big fish. Peace.